Welcome to the Suitable Help Her podcast. My name is Danielle Pettiford, and this show is all about helping wives rediscover their passion and purpose in marriage, life, and business. And I am so excited about this first episode. I know you're excited with me because I've been talking to you ladies, and we have been going on and back and forth about all the topics that we're going to discuss. I want to thank my entire audience, thank everybody who sent in a survey, who gave honest and transparent feedback about their experience as a wife, the beauty, the challenges, the struggle, all of it, the good, bad, the indifferent, the ugly, all of it. And you know what? When you have so many colors and perspectives of a marriage, that's what makes it beautiful in the first place, right? So we're going to talk about marriage. We're going to talk about passion. We're going to talk about purpose. We're going to talk about business. And before I get into my guest, who needs no introduction, but we're going to get to him in a minute, I do want to share with you a little bit about the vision and why the Suitable Help Her podcast. And this is totally off the heart. Like, this is coming from the heart. And at the end of the day, we all know that God ordained marriage. It was his plan, which makes it a God idea, which I believe makes it a good idea. And, you know, there's a role to be played to be a wife. It is not just, you know, get my beautiful white dress, walk down the aisle, all the people give me accolades and gifts, I go off on a honeymoon, and I live happily ever after. We all know that any woman that steps into the role of a wife has just taken on one of the most important positions in the world, and that is to be the helper. And we're going to get into the deeper meaning of that, but the helper does a lot more than birth babies and clean the kitchen. And so I wanted to create a space where there was a voice for wives, where we could express all the wonderful things that marriage brings to the table, how to do marriage well, how to honor the sanctity of marriage in your household before your children and before society. And that's really what this is about. It's really about honoring that position as a wife, as the Etzer Kenegdu, which is actually the root meaning of helper in the Bible. So we're going to get into all the details. I hope that you will join me every week. We are going to be showing up here 10 a.m. every Thursday, so don't miss the show. Make sure you like, subscribe right now. As a matter of fact, do me a favor, because I mean, we do this all the time. We watch all these videos, we do like it, but we did not click subscribe. So could you just take 3 seconds while I smile and hit that subscribe, because you will not miss a show and you'll get all the notifications. So go ahead and do that. We're going to do a 3, 2, 1 countdown. 3, 2, 1. Boom. I really appreciate that. Okay. So before too much more of this, I want us to get into today's topic. My first guest is someone that I think really does not need much of an introduction. However, I'm going to introduce him because he has been my Boaz. He has been my good thing. He has been the one that we have partnered with and built so many things together, including an amazing, incredible, beautiful family, 4 daughters who are adulting now. This is a person that many of you probably know because he has helped so many couples, he has transformed so many lives, and his name is none other than Hasani Pettiford. Would you just say hello to the folks today?
Well, hey, everybody. Like, I've been introduced so many times, but it never felt as good as when your wife, your suitable helper, does it. So it's an honor to be the first one on your show. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for this.
Thank you. So here's the thing. I thought it was a good idea to have you on the show because, you know, as we were thinking about how to do the first show, like what should we talk about, all the things, it just dawned on me, like, we're talking about being a wife. We're talking about being a suitable helper. And who better to interview than the person that I'm the suitable helper to, right? And so I thought, let's bring my husband on, who is going to be able to bring a perspective that only you can bring, right? As a husband, and speak for the husbands, really. You get to bring a perspective that I think is important for this first show, us to have a candid conversation about marriage. So are you good with that?
Let's do it.
You think that people are going to like this?
I hope so.
So here's the first thing that I want to ask you. From your perspective, what does it mean to have a suitable helper in a marriage?
Well, I think it means having a helpmeet. It means having a partner. And, you know, I share this all the time, that people use the word marriage and relationship interchangeably as if they're the same thing, but they are not. Your relationship focuses on companionship, but your marriage focuses on partnership. And so if you're going to have a thriving union with someone else, you want to make sure that they're a good partner, that they're a good fit. And I think that, a suitable helper is someone who's specifically designed and crafted by God, and God ordained this relationship, and they fit like two pieces of a puzzle. And I think that every wife has the potential to be a helper, but is she a suitable helper for her husband?
That part. Is she suitable?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And one of the things that drew me to you, or one of the things that made me say, you know what, I think this is a good fit. It wasn't just the fact that there was chemistry and there was attraction and, we had great personalities and we like some of the same things. But when I looked at what a future would look like with you, I said, she has skills, attributes, just assets that complemented what I was doing in my life and where I saw myself 5, 10, 15, 20 years into the future. And I'm like, you know what? That's how you make a decision about a life partner. It's not just about the in-love feeling, because, that shifts, that goes up and down. But can you have a long-lasting, sustainable relationship where you show up with equal strengths because you have your own brilliance, your own individuality, your own self-expression? And I saw in the future, what life would be like.
So what you're really saying is you marry me because of my skills?
Something like that.
But I mean, in the beginning, there was that chemistry, right?
For sure.
We immediately became friends. We thought to ourselves, man, he thinks the way I think. She thinks the way I think. And there was that immediate chemistry. And then we discovered that we had skills that were compatible, right?
And what was great about it when we first started, we were just friends because, we had gotten out of previous relationships and all we were looking for was a friendship. And so I think we had a good foundation. And then from that, it developed and blossomed. And then it became like, okay, well, what's going on with you? And, that type of thing. And then assessing you and assessing me, we just thought, man, this would make a great match.
Now, here's the thing, like what you're saying is making me think about how we don't really look for our partners by their skills necessarily, or will they be a good friend necessarily? It's like, is he attractive? Does he look good? Does he smell good? What does he have?
Yeah.
Is he financially stable? All of those things. So, thinking about coming from the perspective of looking for a suitable helper, right? You were at a place in your life where you were actually looking to settle down and wanting someone to partner with. What made you recognize that I needed to look deeper into a person? It couldn't just be about their looks. It couldn't just be about their prestige or what they had in their wallet. How did you know how to look?
Well, I think every relationship that you go through, you should learn life lessons. Erykah Badu said, in every experience, there's a lesson learned. And so you realize that looks physical attraction and emotional desirability are the two things that initiate a relationship, but they're not enough alone to maintain a relationship. You need other things because as you age, beauty is fleeting. And so that stuff matters less. And so one of the things
Is my beauty fleeting?
Oh, not at all, Danielle. Not at all. Actually, you get sweeter. It's just like wine. Wine improves with age. Likewise, your beauty has too, babe.
Thank you, baby. Keep going.
But what was I saying? Because I got lost in your beauty.
Sorry, babe.
But you're looking for internal characteristics, right? Personality traits, skill sets that improve and increase over the course of time. And I think that that's what I saw in you. And I think that allowed us to really have different types of conversations. And I noticed things earlier on in the relationship that were pivotal and key. So one of the biggest traits and attributes that really won me when it came to our connection was your support. Like I had a vision and a dream of what I wanted to do. And you were such an encourager and a supporter. And you began to speak life to me. And I think that every man is looking for a woman who will support him when times are good, when times are bad. And I think that's one of the biggest complaints that men have. They feel like they don't have verbal support or participatory support. Those are two different things. Because you can encourage me as I go, but when you get in the trenches with me, when it's all hands on deck and you're right there, and you're not just trying to benefit from all the labor that a man produces, but you're like, you know what? We're going to do this and we're going to do this together. It was those moments and those experiences that I had that allowed me to know I'm making the right decision here. I
think that's a really great point that you make. And it's interesting because I was just having a conversation with one of my children, right? And, they they look at you and they say, man, like, you've made it really hard for them to find a husband, right? Because they're looking at you, they're looking at the status and level that we've accomplished together. And so they're like, this is what I'm looking for. But the thing is that they weren't there when we were in the trenches, right? So you talk about somebody that is willing to support, and this is important for wives to listen to and hear, because you can see what's going on now, but you don't know what was going on then. You don't know the moments where I was praying that we were making the right decision, because nothing was going well. Finances were in the basement. Lights were getting turned off, right? No heat, no food, no diapers, no money, empty bank account, not even empty, in the negative and in the hole, right? And so when we're talking about supporting, we're not talking about support me because I'm a man going out and making these coins. We're talking about support me even when there's no coins.
Yeah.
Speak life to me so that I believe in myself when I've lost hope.
Yeah.
Right? And I think those are the moments that matter. And I think that's what women are missing right now because of what's going on in society and what's portrayed on television, is that I'm supposed to go after the guy that has a bag, right? If he's not making six figures, if he's not 6 feet with six figures, that whole idea. And they've got it wrong, because at the end of the day, if you are a suitable helper, you could take somebody with 3 pennies in their pocket and turn them into multiple six figures. But you have to learn what it means to be a wife. And this is a good point. So I think this is a good point to make when we start talking about the suitable helper, right? People don't know that it has a deeper meaning. When you hear helper, you're hearing, sweep the kitchen floor, clean the house, take care of all the babies, change the diapers. And that's just the domestic stuff, right? In addition to that, go ahead and get a job and make that money so we could go 50-50 on these bills so that we can get to 6-figure level. Like, it's just, the role of a wife has changed so much. But biblically, the suitable helper was all about the Etzer Kenegdu. The Etzer Kenegdu, which is the Hebrew version of the word, that's the root word of it, was mentioned 21 times in the Bible. And I believe it was 16 times where it talked about asking God for support and help, like military aid to support Israel. And then there was a couple other times it was mentioned as God himself coming to protect and save people. And then it was mentioned in reference to the wife. And that role was the savior, the helper, the protector, standing back to back with her husband, suitable, a companion, not beneath either, like side by side. And I think that is something that is significantly left out when we start talking about getting married, right? We don't even think about that. We don't think about the fact that I'm supposed to literally be like military with my spouse. And we all know it. Like, wives know this because we're the ones that are like, man, I saw the forest through the trees. Like, God gave wives something when he created us. Here's a question, because I always think about these things and like, as a wife, and when I get together with wives, when we all gather, we all talk about this, like, oh my goodness, the roles that we play, all the hats that we wear, being mom, running a household, also going to work and making income, all of these things, we talk about that. And we're like, what did God have in mind? Like, what was the big picture when he created us in the garden? So when he created the husband, the man in the garden, right? And all the animals were there, and he was able to name all the animals, and he was able to tend to the garden and do all the things. And God said that it was not good for man to be alone, right? Why do you think that was? Like, what is the male perspective on the fact that God felt that the man needed a helper?
Well, first of all, every animal had a companion. And so here he is in the garden, tilling the garden and all of that, and over all of these animals and seeing companionship, but yet he was alone. Or we can say he was all one. All one. And then when God put him to sleep, took Eve out of Adam and then brought Eve back to Adam. And so now relationship. And I think that, listen, every single man has a desire to connect. There's got to be a drive and a motivation. And oftentimes, like, we hear men say this all the time. Don't you see what I'm doing for you and the kids? Like, I'm out here working and hustling and doing it for you, right? So there's got to be something bigger than ourselves that drives us, that motivates us. And we often see that that's the case. But going back to your point of the suitable helper, which ties into this answer, you've got to have something to help. Like a lot of men may be void of vision, void of purpose, void of knowing who they are and what their purpose in this life is. And so you have these qualified women who are ready to just do, and they're frustrated because they're partnered with someone who has no clue.
Right.
And so what happens is a man who doesn't have a plan becomes intimidated by a woman who has natural gifts and abilities. So when God created man, he said it was good. When he created woman, he said it was very good because she had the ability to take what he could birth and actually the woman births, but take the seed. Right. Take the seed and plant it into the woman to produce a harvest. And we see that with everything.
And that's how God does it, doesn't he? It's like how he does one thing is how he does everything, right? So you're talking about we're in the garden, right? Mm-hmm. He brings the woman to the man and says, dominate, take over, right? And so here he replicated that even in our bodies, right? You have the seed, I have the womb, and that partnership you can't produce without me.
That's right.
I can't produce without you. And I think that's what people aren't getting. It should not be a competition. At the same time, women need to be acknowledged for how their greatness. And I think that's a societal thing. Like, I think, honestly, my kids always laugh at me for calling everything demonic, but I honestly think that this chauvinistic thing that has spread across the entire world is demonic. Well, and let me finish this point, because the reason why I think it's demonic is because it was crystal clear what God had imagined when he created Adam and Eve, right? He explains to us what that partnership is. We just talked about the Etzer Kenegdu. Yeah. Also, read Proverbs 31. The Proverbs 31 woman tells you exactly how it should be. This woman was highly honored by her husband, by her children, and because of her wisdom, because of her tenacity, and she was obviously an amazing wife, she was obviously an amazing mother, she was also a businesswoman, right? She was also someone who was altruistic and giving. She would give to the poor. She was an amazing woman. She did all the things, right? But society over the years, it's gotten less, but has always crushed women, put us down, shushed us, quieted us. You need to be seen beautifully and not heard. And I think that was demonic, because what it did is it divided us, and we needed to be partners standing side by side. And that's something that we really need to reestablish between marriages now more than ever.
Well, for sure. And I think chauvinism, feminism, and any other ism that you can come with creates division within a household. And I think you're right. And I think, unfortunately, so many men throughout the world, because it's not monopolized by a particular culture. No way. Men around the world have been trained and acculturated and associated to look at women in a particular way. So they're seen as less than. Yeah. Or what we've done is we've objectified you, we've sexualized you, and we've placed you in a box to say, this is your role and function. So we focus on your beauty and your body, and that's the extent of it. But what we've forgotten is the brilliance that you come with. And if we were able to tap into that, there's so much more that we could do collectively as a couple. But what you said is so true. There's so much competition.
Oh my goodness.
See, we're not able to become power couples because there's this power struggle, because now listen, men and women both contribute to the problem, but let's talk about how men contribute to the problem. So when I see your success and see your accomplishments and how you've educated yourself and you've empowered yourself and you've done all these different things, I now become intimidated. Why? Because maybe I'm looking through a lens of inadequacy, because when I see your success, I'm reminded of what I haven't been able to do in my own life. So now there's this internal competition, not that you are comparing, but I'm comparing myself to your success and my inability to accomplish what it is that God has created me to do. Or the second thing is, I have these old, archaic, antiquated ideas of what the role of a woman is. And so I've once again placed you in that box. And so when you attempt to do, I shut you down. So the support you get is from your girlfriends, you get it from your colleagues, you get it from all sources. But when you come home, you don't get that same type of support.
Goodness. It's so sad. And what you're saying is so true. And this is why when I'm talking to wives, I don't take for granted that they may not have a husband like mine. Right? And I'm not saying toot Hasani or toot Danielle at all. I'm just being 100% real. The fact is that it's hard for a wife to stand behind a husband that does not have vision, especially when she has not been properly trained in how to be a wife. And that is the kicker. If you knew how to wife well, you can turn anything around. You can literally transform your marriage. You can cause something to rise up in that man that you never saw before. But all you've ever seen before is a man that didn't know his place, had no authority, lost his manhood, didn't have a father of his own, right? And so there was just disappointment. You heard your mother be disappointed by the man that she was with, or maybe multiple men, and they all just disappointed. And so you do what you've seen. You criticize, you talk, you drag him down, you tell him what he's not, and he continues to believe it, right? So I don't take for granted that when I'm talking to a wife and I'm trying to help her understand certain things and take on new perspectives and a brand new mindset about being a wife, that she is not looking at the same type of man that I'm looking at.
That kind of just reminded me, you go to these conferences, you go to all these conventions, and they'll say, hey, listen, take advantage of this opportunity, and you make the decision. You don't have to talk to your spouse. Matter of fact, don't you have your own money? Don't you have your own this? And it creates more division. And so I think you're right. We've lost the fact that there's power in our partnership, and until we tap into it, we will never rise to the level of impact that God has created for each and every one of us. And I think that's a big problem. That competition is destroying the fabric and the foundations of so many unions. Now, on the flip side, we were talking about men who are intimidated by their wives because of what they've been able to accomplish, and how men need to have vision and be a leader. One of the challenges is that you have some men that are so laid back, that are fine with their wives playing that role. You be the leader. You go out there and get that bag. You'd be the one to make all decisions. And that creates a level of frustration too, because now we're not even clear on what the roles are that God has established for us. And so now you have all other types of issues. And so until we come into our own understanding of who we are, it's going to be a problem.
And to balance that, there's nothing wrong with that if that's the season, because we've all been in that season. I think we've been in the season where just by circumstance, right, you didn't have a job and I was the one working, but that's not the model. Right?
Well, we're talking mindset, right?
It's about the mind. Exactly. It's about the mindset. So I think, unfortunately, the mindset is shifting because of this conversation about male toxicity. What is it called? It's how they have female masculinity, but they have male
masculine toxicity or toxic masculinity.
Toxic masculinity is really a problem, in my opinion, because it's turning the way that things should be on its head, right? So now I'm crazy to expect that you're going to be the head of my household and you're going to support me and take care of my family. Even though I have the heart and the mindset to be the support, to help you do all the things, which does mean, if you get down to the basics of it, I'm probably going to be behind the scenes building the business, doing the work, bringing my skills and my intelligence to the situation. But it's crazy for me now to think that you should be the head. That is now toxic. And so there's a lot of these ideas that are circulating that are making it difficult. But there are seasons in every couple's life where they're going through and they're struggling, and everybody does what they need to do because you're a team, right? And that's not a season for you to say, see, that's the season when I was taking care of everything and paying the bills. Like, this is a community. This is Team Pettiford. Everything that we're doing is to advance us and get us to the next level. And when we can shift our mindset and recognize that truth, we'll just have a lot less drama, a lot less drama. So I want to jump into another question, and we're about to wrap up the show because this could go on forever. I could literally talk to I'm the Yetzer Kenegdu. So what are you? I guess you're my Boaz, but that's not good enough. Like, what would I?
I'm the king. I'm the warrior. I'm the friend. I'm the mentor.
Okay.
I have
king,
all
warrior,
these four
friend,
pillars
mentor.
within me because that's what manhood is.
Amen to that. Okay, so you're the king. You're going to go with that pillar for now?
King Hasani.
King
Crown
Hasani.
me.
All right, Hasani, I just got one more question for you because we are on the Suitable Helper podcast, right?
Okay.
And since I'm your suitable helper, I thought I would ask a question that's going to put you on the spot. Are you ready?
Yes.
Make me look good, okay?
Okay.
All right. So here's the question. Can you give an example of when my support made a significant impact on you personally?
Yes. Well, your support has always been there, but I think one of the most pivotal moments in our marriage was many years ago when our kids were young. We lived in New Jersey. I had 2 jobs at the time. I was working for a mortgage company during the day, and I was working at a restaurant at night because we needed to bring in this income. And my heart and my mind wasn't in it because of all the other things I had going on, in terms of entrepreneurial. And I remember walking into the office, and my boss brought me into his office and said, "Listen, Hasani, I want to have a conversation with you. The last couple of months, things haven't been going the way that I thought that they would. And we made a decision that today's going to be your last day. So grab a box, get your belongings, and somebody will escort you out the building." Now, I was shocked by this, didn't know what I was going to do. It's 11 o'clock. My next shift wasn't until 4. So I literally drove into a parking lot across the street from our house and sat there for hours trying to figure out what I'm going to do, how I'm going to tell this woman that I just lost my job. And then I go to my second shift, 4 o'clock at the restaurant. And when I walked in, my manager said, "Hasani, I want to have a conversation with you," and took me outside the restaurant in a back alley and said, "Give me your apron. This is going to be your last day. This is not working." I got fired from 2 jobs in the same day. Now, as a man who's a provider, my whole identity, my whole purpose, my whole life was ruined in that moment. And I had no clue how I was going to come home and tell you because we were dealing with so many issues at the time financially. But your response to me wasn't what I anticipated. Rather than the fights, the yelling, all the things that many couples go through, it was in that moment that you said, "Well, those things don't align with your purpose. Your purpose is to be a speaker. Your purpose is to make impact. Your purpose is to travel the world and influence them. That's your gifting and your purpose." And so when I was at my lowest low, you spoke life into me and helped me to remember who I really was at that time. And I think if it wasn't for that response and the foundational support that you provided me, I don't know where we would be today. Wow. So the power of a suitable helper can help place you on the right path, going in the right direction. And with the support that you have given me from day one to day now, I tell you, none of this would be possible if it weren't for you.
Wow, that was way more than I was anticipating hearing. And I thank you for that acknowledgement. And I think that this is what you just did and what you just said is a love note to every husband out there, that this is how you need to acknowledge and honor your wife. Because you're talking about what I did, but this is what wives do, right? This is the role of the suitable helper, to see the vision, to see the calling. And I think we wives, we talk about the purpose and the calling that we saw in our husbands from the very beginning. And then when things go awry, we forget about that purpose or calling, or problems happen in the marriage or in life, and sometimes they forget about it, and we just stop speaking to it. We stop pouring water on it. And I share this a lot about, the garden, right? How every man, every woman too, has a garden on the inside. And there's some bad seeds and there's some good seeds. And it's up to us what we choose to water of our husbands. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I remember about that story, because I do remember some of that, like the jobs, like you lost a whole bunch of jobs in one day and you just were so defeated.
Yeah, too.
Yeah.
Both of them.
And you were defeated. And I remember like saying, I'll go work, because I had a little baby. We had a little baby. We had Savannah. Remember we had Savannah at the time? She was why aren't you responding?
Because I don't remember, we got so many kids. I don't remember which one it was. It was one of them kids, one of them rascals at the time.
Remember when at that time in life, we had Savannah. She was maybe like 6 months old at the time. Okay. And you were ready to throw in the towel, cave in and quit. And I was just like, nope, that's not your purpose. That's not your calling. You're going to continue to fight to be the speaker. And we didn't even have a big concept of all that we were going to do, right? All we were thinking about was speaking, because you were speaking at colleges. When I went back to work, I remember that Savannah became your little baby. Like, you were the one dragging her around in a wheelbarrow, right? You were the one taking her to Wawa's to get donuts and get all the treats. You became that dad. And I remember that I forgot a lot of the things that happened with Savannah at that age. That's a season where I don't remember as much as I do with some of the other kids because I wasn't there. I was working. And that just speaks to the partnership, right? Because, you know, nothing goes exactly how you plan it. It just doesn't, right? And at that time, the best case situation was for me to go out and get a job and for you to keep pushing, keep calling these universities, keep calling these conferences and get booked. Because when you got booked, that was the big money, right?
For sure.
We could pay some bills for a little while if you got booked, right? But there's always some give and take and some sacrifice because I had to miss out. I'm a mom. I had to miss out on a lot of that time when she was a little baby. And there were pictures that I had to look at and say, well, dang, I wasn't even there for that, or I don't even remember that. So that's the big picture, right? When it comes to partnership, that when the going gets tough, we can always find a way to make it work as long as we continue to partner and stay in agreement. I think what happens is we get so frustrated with each other. Like, I could have been so aggravated by the fact that you couldn't keep these jobs, you know, like you couldn't keep a waiter job. I mean, how hard could it be, right? And I think that oftentimes happens. And we have no community, no partnership, no oneness. And there's division, and we can't grow from there. All right, Hasani, I got a really good question for you because I'm always listening to you talk about how the husbands are saying, a lot of times wives don't encourage their husbands, right? But we demand encouragement. We demand recognition.
For
Why?
sure.
Because wives, we do a lot of things for sure.
Yeah.
Okay? So we do want acknowledgement, right? But here's the question, okay? Why do you think mutual encouragement is important for achieving your goals together? Mutual,
yeah, because words speak life. And if I'm working hard and sacrificing and doing all these things for the family, I want to be acknowledged. I want to be validated. I want to be celebrated for what I do. But a lot of times, if I don't hear it, because that's what I'm supposed to do, so why do I have to acknowledge and why do I have to do all that? Why do I people get offended by the need to have to tell their spouse how they're doing, but we edify each other all the time in network marketing, in church, in corporate space.
Exactly.
But we're mum's the word when it comes to our spouse. And my thing is, like, if I'm hearing it outside, I need to hear it inside.
You better hear it inside.
I better hear it inside.
Yes.
For sure.
For sure. And that goes both sides. That's why I'm saying mutual, because it goes both ways, right?
For
because
sure.
as we're talking about being a suitable helper and the wives and all the roles, right? To your point earlier, how oftentimes the husband can get like jealous and feel some kind of way because maybe he hasn't applied himself and he's not doing all the things he's supposed to do, right? So she's not acknowledging him. She's looking down on that guy because she's out here doing all the things, getting all the accolades out in the street.
Yeah.
But turn the tables on that, right? Whatever your frustrations are with your husband, maybe he's not enough in comparison to your girlfriend's husband. You know, she's doing really well and you're just doing well. And so you won't part your lips to acknowledge him, to compliment him and encourage him for what he is doing.
Yes.
But then he goes to work and his boss is pouring compliments on him, telling him how great he is. All the staff, everyone is saying how great he is, but you, and you're his suitable helper. You're the one that if you were to speak life to him, you're the one that would develop the good fruit. But it is an opportunity for bad fruit to develop when a man is out in the world getting all this accolade from everyone else. That ego starts to rise, and those are the bad fruit, those things that can tangle him up quick, lead him astray, because it wasn't you, wife.
That's right.
He never heard it from you, and everyone else watered the garden and watered the weeds.
Danielle, you know this because when we do what we do, we get celebrated and we get accolades all the time. But then I'm like, so Danielle, how was it really? And even though it's nice to hear it, it doesn't mean a thing unless I hear it from you. And it's not like I always need to hear I did great, but I need your perspective. good and bad. I want to hear it all because that is what speaks life to me. That is when I know I'm on track, I'm off, and I can make certain adjustments because who loves and supports and wants the best for me more than you? And then last thing is, listen, our relationship with God should be a template for what our relationship with one another should be like. And we in scripture are taught to praise God. When the praises go up, the blessings come down. So we honor him, we respect him, we magnify him, all these things. And so if we took that same principle and applied it to each other and edified and encouraged and praised each other, then there would be no temptation, there would be no frustration, there would be no struggle that couples have. So when you speak life into someone, it really forms a bond and a wall of protection around that relationship.
I hope you guys got something out of this episode, this first podcast where I was able to bring my king onto the show and really just talk about being a suitable helper and being a husband, right? Because you can't have one without the other.
Right.
And both are absolutely necessary and valued. None is greater than the other. We are equal compatibles in the good fight, and we do it well. So I want to thank you for coming on my show and blessing me to be a voice of wisdom and reasoning, to also just share some accolades and remind me of a beautiful journey that we've had together, the ups and the downs.
Yes.
But, started from the bottom, now we're here, right?
Yes. Well, I thank you. I honor you. I bless your efforts. This is going to be incredible. And it's a long time coming because this type of message has been lost in the culture that we're currently in. And so you're a beacon of light and hope and inspiration to a breed of people who need what you have to say to give them life so that they can go forward and be the suitable helpers and the wives that they're called to be.
Amen. Thank you so much, babe. Love you.
Love you too.
Should I kiss you once?
Well,
We can't really kiss them.
well,
No?
well,
Should we?
you want to?
You think people would like it?
I think, well, we could try it.
Okay. Bye. Bye, everybody.
All right.